We now leave the towering steel lattices and neon canyons of the modern North behind. Our cinematic journey turns southward, directly into the sacred geographical heart, where the quiet, ancient soul of the Japanese Empire has slept for over 1,000 years. If the first chapter of our voyage was a celebration of future technology and monumental peaks, this chapter is a solemn return to absolute stillness. It is a pilgrimage into deep, moss-covered valleys, hidden stone gardens, and timber sanctuaries that have survived the endless rise and fall of samurai warlords. Here, the modern world does not shout. It listens intently to the fading echo of temple bells. In this episode, we will immerse ourselves in the spiritual landscapes of Kyoto, Nara, and the historic southern islands. We will walk paths where footsteps have been polished smooth by centuries of wandering monks and elegant geishas. Welcome back to the eternal wonders of Japan. We begin our immersion in Kyoto at Fushimi Inari. This is the monumental mountain sanctuary where over 10,000 vibrant vermilion torii gates ascend steeply up a densely forested mountainside. Each grand wooden gate was donated over the centuries by a traditional Japanese business, with the unique name of its benefactor masterfully painted in black ink on the underside of the pillars. The sacred trail climbs 4 long kilometers through a thick canopy of cryptomeria trees. The gates press incredibly close overhead, instantly turning the mountain path into a long, breathing tunnel of burning orange light. At the sharp bends of the trail, small gaps between the gates reveal brief, beautiful flashes of Kyoto's gray rooftops far below, framed elegantly by walls of vermilion. This historic site is dedicated entirely to Inari, the ancient Shinto deity of rice, agriculture, and commercial prosperity. Because the god protects commerce, modern corporations continue to purchase and erect new gates here every single year. The newest structures stand at the base, where the paint is still blindingly bright, while the oldest gates sit near the silent summit, where the vermilion has faded gently to the poetic color of dried clay. Mysterious stone fox statues proudly guard the countless sub-shrines along the route. These foxes serve as the clever messengers of Inari, each one holding a sacred key, a sheaf of rice, or a jewel in its jaws. Worshippers often leave small red bibs around their stone necks as a sign of devotion. At the early hours of dawn, long before the heavy tourist crowds arrive, the silence inside this endless gate tunnel is absolute. It is broken only by the steady crunch of your boots on stone and the rustle of giant cedars overhead. The final gate at the very summit looks down majestically on 10,000 more, forming a crimson spine that fastens the earth to the sky. Our journey moves to the northern edge of Kyoto, where we stand before the breathtaking majesty of Kinkaku-ji, famously known as the Golden Pavilion. This iconic 3-story structure is covered entirely in brilliant gold leaf, sitting gracefully at the very edge of a mirror-flat pond. The top 2 floors are wrapped in pure gold that catches the shifting light from every angle, reflecting beautifully off the dark water to form a double image, so flawlessly symmetrical, it is difficult to tell where the building ends and its reflection begins.
Remarkably, each of the 3 stories represents a distinctly different style of traditional architecture. The first floor is built in the elegant Heian Palace style, featuring white plaster walls and sliding wooden screens. The second floor embodies the strict samurai residential style, accented with fine latticed windows. The third and top floor is designed in the austere Zen temple style, heavily gilded and strictly minimalist. The ultimate visual effect from the outside is completely unified by gold, yet the building structurally contains 3 separate historical Japans stacked vertically: courtier, warrior, and monk. The original pavilion was built in 1397 as a quiet retirement villa for Shogun Ashikaga Yoshimitsu. However, on the tragic morning of July 2, 1950, a young novice monk set fire to the structure. He later confessed that he was so completely overwhelmed by its absolute perfection that destroying it was the only way to release his own mind. The pavilion burned to the waterline, and the bronze phoenix on the roof fell into the dark pond.
The temple was rebuilt identically in 1955 and re-gilded with gold leaf 5 times thicker than the original. The surrounding strolling garden is designed so that the pavilion is visible from every single point along the path, with each angle revealing a new composition of gold, water, and ancient pine trees. It stands today as a place where absolute beauty and tragic destruction have entered the same eternal story. We journey to the western outskirts of Kyoto, where we enter the breathtaking sanctuary of the Arashiyama Bamboo Grove. Here, tens of thousands of towering moso bamboo stalks rise vertically from the forest floor, reaching over 20 meters into the sky before producing their very first branches.
The heavy green canes grow incredibly close together. This natural density instantly turns the path between them into a living, breathing corridor. Filtered sunlight falls in narrow, dramatic shafts through the canopy, illuminating the soft mist that often settles in the grove. The acoustic atmosphere inside this forest is unlike anywhere else on Earth. As the mountain wind passes through the upper canopy, the massive bamboo stalks gently sway and collide, producing a hollow, resonant clicking sound. The Japanese government has officially designated this natural melody as one of the country's 100 protected soundscapes. The peaceful grove eventually opens onto the historic Togetsukyo Bridge, which spans gracefully across the flowing Katsura River, with forested mountains rising sharply on the far bank. It is a timeless sanctuary where sound becomes your primary sense, and where the gentle rhythm of nature needs no human composer. Our exploration takes us to the historic hillsides of eastern Kyoto, where we stand before the magnificent timber structure of Kiyomizu-dera. Perched boldly over a sheer cliff face, this ancient wooden temple's main hall is supported by a massive stage built entirely on 13-meter interlocking pillars. Remarkably, absolutely no metal nails or screws were used in the entire engineering of this giant framework. The historic stage faces a vast, plunging valley filled with dense maple and cherry trees that drop away toward the modern city of Kyoto below. On quiet autumn evenings,
the entire valley is illuminated from base to canopy. The vibrant red and orange leaves glow intensely against the dark, weathered wooden frame of the temple, creating a visual masterpiece that resembles stained glass in a grand cathedral. The name of the temple literally translates to pure water, taken from the sacred Otowa waterfall flowing at its very base. Here, 3 separate streams of fresh mountain water plunge into a stone basin, and visiting travelers drink from them using long-handled cups to wish for longevity, health, and success. Below the temple, the narrow, winding streets of the Higashiyama district remain beautifully unchanged since the feudal Edo period, guarded by traditional pottery shops and quiet tea houses.
As twilight deepens into night, we walk into Gion, Kyoto's most celebrated and mysterious geisha district. This historic neighborhood consists of 5 compact blocks of traditional machiya townhouses, lining narrow alleys where wooden lattice screens softly filter the warm light from within. In the early evening, the historic streets glow beautifully in an amber hue from hanging paper lanterns and illuminated paper screens. If you watch closely, you can witness geiko, Kyoto's unique term for geisha, and maiko, their young apprentices, moving swiftly between exclusive tea houses in full, magnificent regalia. Their faces are painted a pure, porcelain white, accented by elaborate silk kimonos and heavy wooden geita sandals that click sharply against the wet cobblestones. The famous Hanamakoji Street serves as the main avenue of the district, lined with private restaurants, whose private entrances are marked by traditional Norin curtains and small stone lanterns. At the southern edge of Gion, the quiet Shirakawa Canal runs peacefully beneath weeping willow trees, its dark surface reflecting the warm, golden light of the establishments along its banks. Gion is not a static museum. It remains a living, working district, where the ancient tradition of geiko entertainment has continued without a single interruption for over 300 years. We return to a state of quiet contemplation along the Philosopher's Path. This is a peaceful 2-kilometer stone walkway that follows a narrow, historic canal through Kyoto's scenic Higashiyama district. The entire path is lined beautifully on both sides with hundreds of mature cherry trees. It earned its famous name from Nishida Kitaro, a celebrated Japanese philosopher who walked this exact route daily for his morning meditation. In the brief spring months of late March and early April, the cherry blossoms arch over the flowing canal, creating a magnificent canopy of white and pale pink petals. As the breeze blows, thousands of petals fall gracefully into the running water, drifting downstream in slow, poetic pink currents. Charming local cafes and traditional pottery shops occupy the old wooden buildings along the route. The atmosphere here remains incredibly quiet, even during the peak blossom season. The flowing canal seems to absorb all outer sound into the gentle rush of water over stone, offering a perfect sanctuary for those seeking to quiet their minds. Our journey moves deeper into western Kyoto,
where we enter the quiet temple grounds of Ryoanji. This sacred site contains Japan's most famous and enigmatic dry landscape rock garden. It features exactly 15 carefully chosen stones, arranged masterfully within a rectangular bed of raked white gravel, surrounded by a low clay wall that has been deeply stained by centuries of oil smoke.
The true brilliance of this design lies in its perspective. No matter where you choose to sit on the wooden veranda, you can never see all 15 stones at the exact same time. At least one stone is always hidden entirely behind another. The garden contains absolutely no water, no trees, and no vibrant colors. It features only weathered stone, white gravel, and patches of green moss growing at the base of the rocks. The original designer remains completely unknown, and the true meaning of the layout is left entirely to individual interpretation. It stands as a rectangle of absolute restraint and minimalist Zen philosophy, sitting quiet in a historic city otherwise filled with abundance.
We travel slightly south of Kyoto to the historic town of Uji, where we discover the pure symmetry of Byodo-in Temple. At the heart of this sacred compound sits the Phoenix Hall, which is reflected so flawlessly in a still surrounding pond that the timber building and its mirror image form a single, complete celestial shape.
The hall was originally constructed in the ancient year of 1053 by a powerful nobleman who sought to physically recreate the pure Buddhist paradise on Earth. The sweeping roof ridges are proudly crowned by two magnificent bronze phoenix statues. The historic interior houses a single, massive seated Amida Buddha sculpture, masterfully carved from cypress wood by the ancient artist Jocho. The great deity is surrounded by 52 delicate wooden bodhisattvas suspended on floating clouds, each one playing a traditional musical instrument or holding a sacred lotus flower. This iconic architectural image is so deeply revered that it appears proudly on the Japanese 10-yen coin. The striking reflection in the pond, the historic building doubled, and the sacred phoenixes doubled is the timeless image that every traveling soul carries away. Leaving Kyoto behind, we journey into the ancient capital of Nara, where we stand before the monumental structure of Todaiji. This is officially the world's largest wooden building under a single roof, housing the world's largest bronze Buddha statue, standing 15 meters tall, weighing 500 tons, with a single thumb the size of a grown man. The Great Buddha Hall measures a staggering 57 meters wide, and its massive scale is almost impossible to fully comprehend from the inside. The ceiling vanishes into the shadows overhead, and the Buddha's peaceful face gazes down from a height that instantly makes every visitor feel incredibly small. The Emperor Shomu ordered this massive construction in the year 743, during a tragic era when Japan was ravaged by smallpox, widespread famine, and violent rebellion. His sacred vow to build the Great Buddha was an act of national desperation, believing the spiritual power of the statue would protect the empire from further ruin. The difficult casting process took years, requiring citizens from across the country to donate their personal metal belongings, including temple bells, weapons, and bronze cooking vessels, to be melted down and recast into the sacred image.
Just outside the great wooden halls, over 1,000 wild sika deer roam freely across the vast park. These animals have been protected as sacred messengers of the Shinto gods since the temple's founding. Local vendors sell traditional deer crackers, and the animals have remarkably learned to bow politely before accepting food. This unique bowing behavior is passed down from generation to generation among the deer, representing a beautiful tradition that has no human teacher. It remains a sacred landscape where the massive ambition of an empire and the quiet patience of nature watch the exact same centuries pass. Deep within the sacred forests of Nara, we discover the mystical sanctuary of Kasuga Taisha. This ancient Shinto shrine is celebrated worldwide for its extraordinary collection of over 3,000 lanterns. Each unique lantern was donated by worshippers over the centuries as an act of deep devotion, prayer, and gratitude to the protective deities of the region. 1,000 massive stone lanterns line the winding gravel paths leading through the old-growth forest. Their rough surfaces are completely covered in thick layers of green moss, making them look like a natural extension of the twisted tree roots themselves. The remaining 2,000 lanterns are crafted masterfully from bronze and brass, hanging in dense, majestic rows from the vermilion eaves of the shrine buildings. Twice a year, during the magical lantern festivals of February and August, all 3,000 lanterns are lit by hand at dusk. The bright electric lights of the modern town are completely forgotten as the entire forest sanctuary plunges into a warm, flickering sea of amber firelight. The ancient bronze surfaces catch the dancing reflections, casting complex, poetic shadows onto the white plaster walls of the compound. It remains a sacred space where human devotion has slowly gathered over 1,000 years, waiting for the shadows of evening to reveal its true light. We leave the absolute quiet of Nara's forests to enter the electric neon pulse of Osaka's Dotonbori district. Running directly along the historic Dotonbori Canal, this vibrant avenue serves as the ultimate epicenter of Japan's legendary street food culture and nighttime entertainment. Huge, animated digital signs and three-dimensional mechanical displays climb up the faces of the crowded buildings. The famous Glico Running Man sign towers high above the main bridge, its colorful lights reflecting beautifully off the dark water to form a constantly shifting neon current. The air here is filled with the rich, savory aromas of sizzling takoyaki and crisp okonomiyaki, prepared by skilled vendors right before your eyes on massive iron griddles. The surrounding crowds move in a relentless, energetic tide that continues far into the early hours of morning. The phrase kuidore, meaning to eat until you drop, was famously coined here to describe the unique hedonistic spirit of Osaka's citizens. From a quiet vantage point on a riverboat cruising under the bridges, you can watch this human river flow and drain. The blinding neon signage is so intense that it completely erases the night sky, transforming the canal into a brilliant, multicolored canyon of artificial light that never truly dims. Our journey moves west to Hyogo Prefecture, where we stand before the breathtaking majesty of Himeji Castle. Rising elegantly from a vast plain, this monumental fortress is widely celebrated as the White Heron Castle because its striking white plaster walls resemble a great bird taking flight. Built in its current form in the early 1600s, this is officially the largest and most pristine samurai castle to fully survive into the modern era. The massive complex features a network of 83 historic wooden buildings, defended by a labyrinth of winding stone pathways, heavy gates, and deep moats designed to confuse invading armies. Remarkably, the Great Keep has completely survived 4 centuries of intense warfare, devastating fires, and the heavy bombing raids of the Second World War without suffering a single scratch.
The exterior walls are coated in a thick layer of non-combustible white plaster, engineered masterfully to protect the inner timber frame from fire arrows and decay. The interior of the castle tells a fascinating story of feudal military life, featuring dark weapon racks, hidden trapdoors, and incredibly steep wooden staircases that require careful climbing. The historic wooden floors have been worn completely smooth by generations of samurai boots. Unlike many castles that were heavily reconstructed with concrete in the post-war decades, Himeji stands as an authentic masterpiece of pure timber engineering. In the brief spring, over 1,000 pink cherry blossoms frame the stark white keep beautifully. In the quiet winter, the fresh snow resting on its multi-tiered roofs turns the entire fortress into a living woodblock print. It remains a defiant monument of absolute security and flawless aesthetic grace, watching over the land it was built to protect. We journey further west to the historic city of Hiroshima, standing solemnly before the iconic atomic bomb dome. This industrial exhibition hall was one of the very few massive structures near the hypocenter to partially survive the catastrophic blast of August 6, 1945. Today, its exposed steel framework and shattered brick walls are preserved identically as a powerful, universal monument to global peace.
Just across the flowing Motoyasu River, the peaceful Peace Memorial Park opens wide. At the very center of this sacred green space burns the flame of peace, designed beautifully to remain lit until every single nuclear weapon on Earth is completely destroyed. The surrounding city has completely rebuilt itself into a vibrant, thriving metropolis filled with wide green avenues and bustling tram lines. It stands as a magnificent proof of deep human resilience, showing that even the deepest scars of history can eventually bloom into a landscape of pure peace. A short ferry ride across the scenic Seto Inland Sea brings us to the sacred island of Miyajima. Here, the magnificent Itsukushima Shrine is constructed masterfully on stilts over a tidal bay, appearing to float beautifully on the surface of the ocean during high tide. The jewel of this sanctuary is the iconic Grand Torii Gate, standing 16 meters tall, entirely out in the sea. The massive pillars of the gate are crafted from natural, rot-resistant camphor trees that are heavily weighted at the base to stand secure without being buried in the seabed. At high tide, the brilliant vermilion structure rises proudly from the dark blue water, forming a breathtaking gate between the human world and the sacred mountain behind.
When the tide drains completely in the late afternoon, visitors can walk directly across the wet sand to touch the ancient wooden pillars. Friendly wild deer walk calmly among the travelers along the historic shoreline. It remains a poetic landscape where the rigid architecture of man and the shifting tides of the ocean exist in a state of perfect, eternal balance. Our path finally crosses onto Kyushu, the historic southern island, where we enter the energetic coastal city of Fukuoka. As night falls, the scenic riverbanks of Nakasu Island transform completely, as dozens of traditional open-air food stalls, called yatai, open one by one. These compact wooden mobile kitchens have served as the emotional heart of Fukuoka's nightlife since the post-war decades. Each cozy stall holds exactly 8 to 10 customers, seating them tightly around a central steaming broth. The warm air is thick with the rich aroma of authentic tonkotsu ramen, featuring a deep pork bone broth that is simmered continuously for over 20 hours. Strangers sit shoulder to shoulder with local salarymen under the soft canvas roofs, sharing cold beers and hot skewers in an atmosphere of pure, unfiltered hospitality. It is a unique culinary culture found nowhere else in modern industrial Japan. The small wooden stalls glow beautifully against the dark river, casting long, warm reflections on the water beneath the towering neon buildings of the modern city. From the endless red gate tunnels of Kyoto to the floating sacred monuments of Miyajima, and finally to the warm, glowing food stalls of Fukuoka, we have completed our immersive pilgrimage through the ancient, spiritual soul of the Japanese Empire. We have witnessed how a nation can fiercely protect its deepest traditions while moving boldly into the future. The ancient wooden temples and quiet stone gardens we encountered do not belong merely to the past. They continue to serve as quiet sanctuaries for the modern human spirit, offering a timeless blueprint for true balance in a loud and crowded world.
Our cinematic exploration of this beautiful island nation now comes to a peaceful end. But the vast world is filled with many more hidden corners, sacred paths, and untouched wonders waiting to be discovered. Thank you for wandering through these ancient lights and deep shadows with us today. If this meditative journey brought a welcome moment of tranquility to your day, please leave a gentle like and subscribe to Peaceful Journeys to join our growing, quiet community. Your beautiful support helps wandering souls everywhere discover the world's most breathtaking sanctuaries. Until our paths cross again on the next horizon of the globe, stay peaceful and take care.